Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. It seems as if every time I'm at someone's house these days and, I'm being nosy and looking through their bookshelf, 9 times out of 10, they've got a book by Yotam Ottolenghi on there. He is a wildly popular chef and cookbook author, and he's got a new one out now titled Ottolenghi Comfort. It's recipes centering comfort food. And in this interview with Here Now's Robin Young, it's clear that when he's talking about comfort, he's not just talking about what you eat, but also how you eat and how you make it. Because what's more comforting than only having one pot to clean when you're done cooking? That's coming up.
This message comes from BetterHelp. Can you think of a time when you didn't feel like you could be yourself, like you were hiding behind a mask? BetterHelp Online Therapy is convenient, flexible, and can help you learn to be your authentic self so you can take off the mask. Because masks should be for Halloween fun, not for your emotions. Visit BetterHelp.com/NPR today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/NPR.
What's your favorite comfort food? Maybe you're digging into it right now. Mac and cheese, pasta, roasted eggplant, red pepper, and tomato soup. Oh, that looks good. That's a favorite of Tara Wigley, who's joined forces with Helen Goh and Verena Lochmuller on famed chef Yotam Ottolenghi's new cookbook, Ottolenghi Comfort. Destined to add to his list of 10 best-selling books, it's filled with great recipes from all 4 chefs' kitchens, along with an examination of comfort. What does a bowl have to do with it? And Yotam Ottolenghi joins us now from the NPR studios in New York. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's so good to be back.
And what does a bowl have to do with it?
Holding a bowl of something, for many people, including me, gives you comfort. So it's just the actual act of holding a bowl in your hand before you even reach for the spoon and trying to eat what's inside.
Right. And you say in the introduction, nurture, convenience, nostalgia, indulgence. There's different genres of comfort food.
That's right. We really tried to tackle it not so much from the predictable place where you say, comfort food is mac and cheese and pizza and anything stodgy. That's not what we were about. There's a lot of those in the book, so don't worry. Mm-hmm. But really, it's much more about the emotional reactions that food gives us. And we're 4 different people, so we have 4 different emotional reactions. And those are tied very deeply into our own personal histories. When I think about my past, I grew up in Jerusalem. There's so many flavors that go back to that childhood in that city, from chicken meatballs in a lemony broth with potatoes and celery, lots of other meatballs. If I think about Helen grew up in Malaysia and Australia. We're talking about noodles, rice. There is a recipe for nasi goreng. It's fried rice with shrimps and green beans, and it's got this wonderful sauce that has soy sauce and brown sugar, and it's sweet and it's sour and it's rich and it's beautiful, and that's her culture. So there's no one size fits all when it comes to comfort. There's just very different ways in which we feel comfort when we are placed in front of a plate of food.
Well, and for me, the child of generations of people who've been here in America, it is the absolutely boring, because we are so boring, tuna noodle casserole. Cans of tuna with a can of mushroom soup and potato chips on top.
Okay, well, you're fine. You're in good company because we have a tuna curry. I think you'd do a little bit more preparation, but you'd find it super satisfying. It's a really, really lovely, deep curry with all sorts of spices.
Well, potato chips are sort of a spice.
Potato chips are a spice. They've got salt in them. Lots of it.
I love that you quote from food writer royalty. This is MFK Fisher. She writes in The Art of Eating, "When I write about hunger, I'm really writing about love and the hunger for love and warmth and the love of that. It's all one." And that's sort of what you're looking for in these dishes, I would think.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Because when you grow up, whether you stayed in the same country you grew up in or whether you immigrated to another place, you carry with you so many emotional moments that kind of trigger certain reactions, and those are often tied into food. Like there is a recipe here for meatloaf. So my mom used to make meatloaf, like I suppose so many other parents of the audience, and we added shawarma spice mix to it, which has allspice and turmeric and paprika and cumin. So we sweetened it up with all those spices. And when you read MFK Fisher, It's the love that's connected to the particular recipe. And when you think of this recipe or when you eat it, it immediately transports you. It applies to food, but it also applies to other things. And we have this big reunion now in Britain of Oasis, the band.
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Oasis, if you're listening, we would love for you to come
I don't know what
and speak with us, but go ahead.
I don't know how old you are, but people of a certain age, it just transforms them immediately into a particular moment in time. So for me, it's, for everybody, it's the 1990s. I lived in Amsterdam and I worked at a hotel as a receptionist, and the MTV was blaring the whole night, and there was constantly Oasis. And all I need in order for me to be transformed to that place and time is a tune of Oasis to come on. And food does exactly that, whether it's pasta or noodles or an apple cake.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for giving us an excuse to play Oasis at the end of this segment. We're looking at one recipe. This is the cauliflower and butternut pakoras. Have I said that?
Yeah.
Yep. And underneath the title, it says, "Ask Yotam what's his equation for comfort food," and it would look like this. What is this?
First of all, cauliflower, because I love cauliflower. Yeah. It's the ultimate vegetable for me. It's so versatile. It's so delicious. I grew up with it. I love fried food. Who doesn't like fried food? And this is just vegetables. It's really, really, really good vegetables that are held together with some chickpea flour. So it's a very healthy thing, but it's also a very delicious thing, an indulgent thing. So all these things together, for me, are heaven.
And you eat it by hand, which is another thing for many people that makes something comfort food.
That's my idea of heaven, eating with your hands. Next door to the pakoras, there's these rice cakes. They've got peas in them and turmeric and a sweet chili sauce that you dip, and lots of cheese that you dip those rice cakes in. And just the act of dipping is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to just point out one thing you say about another reason we eat comfort food, and it's stress. You point out the hypothalamus perceives stress, and we have that phrase, fight or flight, but it should be fight, flight, feed, because for some of us, we just want to stop right there and eat. You say it's the worst thing we can do, right?
Yeah, it won't save you. If you're an animal being chased by another one and you're going to stop and start eating, then that's the end of you.
Right.
But it's all about what goes on in your brain, like how food fits the brain and how you react to food in a particular way.
Because as you say, after the moment of stress is gone, then there's a rush of cortisol that makes you crave particularly sugar. So just be aware of that and then do a good meal for yourself or a good snack for yourself.
Even the craving of the sugar, it doesn't need to come in the form of a dessert, which we have and I love, and there's some wonderful cakes and desserts in the back of the book. But I'm thinking about vegetables actually in the context of sweetness, because vegetables, when the starches convert into sugar, they can become very sweet. People say to me, can vegetables really be comfort food? And I say, yes, they can. And the way it comes about is through slow cooking. So we have a recipe for a dish called beans on toast. It's haricots verts or French beans that are cooked in olive oil and garlic and a few cherry tomatoes, all go into a Dutch oven and with the lid on. And they cook low and slow and they go all soft and melt in the mouth. And we put them on toast, so there's something crunchy underneath, and put some feta on top, so it becomes into a whole meal.
Wonderful. We also love the tomato and eggplant one-pot pasta. You roast the eggplant in a pan, then you add all the other ingredients. You bake and stir and bake. You add herbs. That's part of comfort food too, one pot.
Yeah, there's a couple of pasta dishes that do that, and I increasingly these days make all my aromatic and cooking in one pan, and then add my pasta or my rice, and then add liquid and allow everything to cook together. So there's different types of comforts involved here. First of all, not having to wash many dishes, and then the comfort of all the flavors coming together at the same time. So when you cook pasta, without pre-cooking it, the starch in the pasta stays in the pan, so it gives it a really nice mouthfeel, so it becomes all like emulsified, and it's a really wonderful way to cook pasta or rice. There's quite a few dishes in this book for baked rice where you heat up oil and you wash your rice and soak it, and then you add it to the oil with all its aromatics, and you cover it with a lid and put it in the oven or keep it on your stovetop, and you got a whole meal. One of them, my favorite, I have to mention that, is called a cheese ball rice, because into the rice I insert these balls that have cheddar cheese, feta, and ricotta, and you kind of put them in the rice. As it's cooked, cover, the cheese kind of spreads a bit.
Oh, boy.
So you have these bites of melted cheese as you eat your rice. It's heaven.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up the segment now with Oasis, which will not make sense to anyone who missed the beginning of our conversation. Restaurateur, cookbook author Yotam Ottolenghi. His new book is Ottolenghi Comfort. It's written with chefs Helen Goh, Verena Lochmuller, and Tara Wigley. Yotam Ottolenghi, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
Support for NPR and the following message come from IXL Online. Is your child asking questions on their homework you don't feel equipped to answer? IXL Learning uses advanced algorithms to give the right help to each kid, no matter the age or personality. One subscription gets you everything. One site for all the kids in your home, pre-K to 12th grade. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And NPR listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/NPR.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Rosetta Stone, an expert in language learning for 30 years. Right now, NPR listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership to 25 different languages for 50% off. Learn more at rosettastone.com/NPR.
This message comes from Bombas. Socks, underwear, and T-shirts are the top 3 requested clothing items by people experiencing homelessness. Bombas makes all 3 and donates 1 item for every item purchased. Go to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off.